Hello everyone, welcome to Essential Development Tools. In today's presentation, we'll be talking about Sandcastle. Sandcastle is a documentation compiler for managed class libraries by Microsoft. So today's agenda would be: what is Sandcastle? Why should we use Sandcastle? What are the available interfaces for Sandcastle? How can we use Sandcastle Help File Builder GUI to generate documentation? What are some of the common coding mistakes, followed by a small quiz? What is Sandcastle? Documentation is very critical for software developers and is continuously used as a reference throughout their career. But having poor documentation can be equally bad compared to having no documentation. So Sandcastle is a Microsoft initiative to develop documentation for managed class libraries. Sandcastle generates MSDN style documentation from .NET assemblies using the XML comment files and comments in the code. It is a command line tool and it has no GUI, but there are a lot of third-party softwares which have been developed on top of Microsoft Sandcastle, which provide you with a GUI. Sandcastle works with .NET Framework 2.0. In short, Sandcastle takes C# or VB or any .NET managed assemblies and the corresponding XML files as input, uses its Sandcastle libraries to compile all the documentation and generate either an HTML output or a help file of .chm extension, which is similar to MSDN. Why Sandcastle? What are the benefits that we get by using Sandcastle? Sandcastle being a Microsoft product, it gives you an MSDN like layout, look and feel. It auto generates a lot of things for you, like index entries, table of content, page layout, and it gives you a consistent look and feel with other Microsoft help documents. It auto generates syntax declarations for you, and it allows you a lot of customization with respect to code coloring which we use. Available interfaces. As I've already told you, Sandcastle is a command line tool, and there have been a lot of third-party GUI tools developed on top of this. So some of the available GUI tools from third party are Sandcastle Help File Builder, Sandcastle GUI, Sandcastle CHM compile bat script, and configuration utility. For today's presentation, we'll be using Sandcastle Help File Builder, and I'll give you a small demo regarding how to use Sandcastle Help File Builder GUI to generate MSDN like documentation for your managed code libraries. Once you install Sandcastle and Sandcastle Help File Builder GUI, this is the interface for Sandcastle Help File Builder GUI. So the first step would be to add all the required DLLs or managed library files. So we click on add, select the folder or the manage DLLs for which the documentation is to be generated. It's very important to understand that these DLLs alone will not help you to generate the documentation. All the dependencies also should be satisfied. If these DLLs use any other DLLs, even those should be mentioned. The dependencies can be mentioned in the build tab over here. So all you have to do is go there. Here we can specify the folder or a file or GAC where we have added reference to our DLLs from. For the demonstration purposes, we'll add a folder. There are a lot of other options that can also be configured to generate the documentation. For instance, the help file, the copyright href, copyright text, feedback email address. This is the data which appears at the bottom of the help file and can be used to contact the respective party if there's any doubts. So once all the properties have been set, all you have to do is click on this to build the help file. This will ask you for a location. So once the location is selected, it'll use all the manage assemblies and the corresponding XML files and create a help file which would look something like this. So as we can see, the Sandcastle has developed an MSDN look and feel kind of a documentation for each and every method. Let me remind you that this does not document your code. It uses the code which you've written and along with the documentation and present it in a more presentable format. Moving back to the presentation, what are some of the common coding mistakes that we end up making while using Sandcastle? Namespace summaries. We all use namespaces in our code, but very few of us actually provide comments for them. While generating documentation, it's important that we generate or we document or write comments for namespaces also. Show missing tags. While we're generating the help file, there's an option wherein you can specify show missing tags, doing which would put red color marks or red color tags in the CHM file saying that a particular comment has been missing. We should ensure that this is not checked or this is not set to true while we're generating documentation for communication purposes or sending it to third party, because they'll leave a bad impression on that. Help file information. As I've already told you, there is a help file section where you can specify who to contact in case of any doubts. It's important that we provide this information so that user knows where to get back if he has any doubts. Now we'll have a small quiz. What is the input to Sandcastle? Manage class libraries, which are nothing but DLLs and corresponding comments file. While these files are important, we should also note that all its dependencies should also be satisfied. Is it necessary to satisfy all dependencies before generating the documentation? Yes, the documentation cannot be generated without satisfying all the dependencies. What are the output types supported by Sandcastle? What are the various output formats that Sandcastle can generate? So it can generate a .chm help file or HTML kind of documentation. Is Sandcastle only for managed libraries? Yes, Sandcastle only supports managed class libraries. So it can support C#, VB, or any language which can get converted to CLR after compilation. These are some of the references. Thank you.